record crowd of 40,000 inside the ground and another couple of thousand on the Scotsman's grandstand outside.
Then it's changed now to quite an unusual feeling of tenseness.
For more than 100 years, these images have haunted the imagination of rugby players throughout the world. These warriors dressed in black.
Stepped off the grave and stepped on the feet.
Short side, away they pull them on.
Absolutely brilliant.
Mr. Xavier Deschamps.
Oh my goodness.
It's at their very, very best. Could you believe it? Well, I actually don't.
This stadium is on its feet.
He has inspired his team on the field. He's inspired his country off it. That is pretty to watch. That is rugby at its best.
Tēnā koutou katoa, good evening. How do you not get goosebumps when you watch that track? The great rivalry resumes between the All Blacks and Springboks this coming weekend. We've got Victor Matfield joining us on the program to hype this one up. And on Test week, the eve of the Test match, the All Blacks drop a coaching bombshell. Leon Macdonald is gone from the coaching staff after just 5 Test matches. We're going to talk about all of that and more, but it is a very good welcome into yourself and to our gentlemen, Jeff Wilson, Mills Muliaina and Sir John Kerwin. JK, we know how much you love your South African friends. Are you ready to stir the pot tonight?
I cannot wait. Like, they are 1,000% favourites. It's the World Cup final rematch. We got a yellow card. Let's hope we stay 15 against 15 this week. But I just can't wait. I mean, Mills, if you're a player, man, doesn't get better than this.
Best place to tour. When you're a rugby player, in terms of the rugby, as soon as you get off that plane into Johannesburg, you feel it. I mean, you feel the intensity, the rivalry between the two teams. And the one thing I do miss about South Africa is the bubblegum milkshakes. They make the best milkshakes, Chris.
Bubblegum
Ever go over
milkshakes?
Bubblegum. Got to go bubblegum milkshake, man. They're real good.
So the boys will be tucking into those this week?
That's not what I remember about going to South Africa. I remember Springboks coming at you for 80 minutes and 85 and whatever it took, and it was non-stop JK, and that's what's going to be coming to this All Black team. After everything that's gone on and so much chat after a Rugby World Cup final, which, to be honest, they were better than us on the day. They were better than us. New challenges for the coaching group. It doesn't get any bigger and better for me in terms of the game of rugby. These two teams, I think it is the best rivalry in the game. So bring it on. I'm with you, bring it on. Let's find out exactly what this group and what this coaching staff are made of.
I've just got a shiver because we ran out in Ellis Park, 85,000 people, and there was silence. First time it happened. We were first team back after apartheid, and we ran out, and there was deathly silence. I still get
That's 92, eh?
shivers.
92.
Yeah.
That was
Unbelievable.
And I remember watching that. It was unbelievable.
Yeah.
You're right, Jeff. This is the ultimate challenge for this group of players and the coaches, and now they have to do it without Leon Macdonald. Hollywood is talking about the divorce of Ben Affleck and J-Lo. We're talking about the split of Leon Macdonald and Scott Robertson. This is what Scott said during the week in his press conference. They just have different views and different coaching philosophies, and they both agreed it wasn't working, so they would part ways. Mills, did this news come as a shock to you?
I thought it did. I mean, 5 games in and already this... I mean, one positive out of it is the fact that they've got to the bottom of it and sort of, acted on it straight away. I thought they did outstandingly well in terms of doing that. But it's interesting when the pressure's sort of on in an environment like this, Jeff, that things sort of go a little bit pear-shaped in terms of the group itself, the coaching staff itself.
I think we all thought they had one too many coaches anyway, to be honest. Selectors, coaches, huge staff. We were wondering, whether the messages were going to be able to be heard when you've got so many voices. And when Scott Robertson, after 2 Test matches in New Zealand, talks about the fact the team is not executing, not playing to the game plan that they're out there, they've come to this conclusion that they needed to reduce it down. They needed to change direction. They've tacked JK. I'm not necessarily surprised given the fact that they worked together briefly and it didn't carry on when they were down with the Crusaders. I look at it, for me, Kirsty, and go, you know what? It is a positive because you can't go to South Africa and have any distractions. No. If you want to beat the world champions, you have to do it. Your mind has to be 100% focused, and I think the players and the coaches can now do that because you cannot have any unrest in the camp.
Well, this is what Scott Robertson had to say in his documentary that he did before the Super Rugby season started.
you know, and coaching with Leon, you know, being successful with the 20s and, you know, with Crusaders, he thinks different to me again. He's a little bit different. He sees things that everything that can go wrong. I see everything that go right. So we get somewhere in between.
He's the most personable person, we know that. Radio silence from Leon Macdonald, so we haven't heard from him this week. But these two men, JK, worked together at under-20s level at the Crusaders for a season. They've played together for a very long time. Why would they not make it work?
Well, I think for me personally, like every plan's good till you get a punch in the face, right, Mill? So pressure comes on. This is way different. We've seen also Razor under a little bit of pressure. You know, he's won 9 in a row. Like, he has had the most winning coaching job at the Crusaders. He's come into this job, and if you don't perform, even if you win, it's not good enough. So the pressure goes on. I think that they have a different philosophy, right? And when you are an assistant coach like Leon was, you just have to shut up and get on with it, and you have to deliver what the head coach wants. That's all there is to it. Now, there is some conversation, and you agree to disagree and commit. But if you don't, it's pretty hard to get along because you have a different philosophy, Mills. And if you're, and I was really actually proud of them both. And I can only take it on what I saw. So they've been open and honest about it. They had a conflict, and one had to move on. Well,
we haven't heard from Leon Macdonald.
Yeah, exactly.
No, sorry.
So I'm taking it on face value, mate. I'm saying, okay, if this is the case, what do you think he got the sack?
Well, ultimately, I would have expected, if it was mutual, the fact there'd be no reason why not to have them together. And for hear from Leon Macdonald, the fact that, you know, they haven't been able to work through it. This is a really expensive mistake for New Zealand rugby. If you think about how much, I think he was on a 4-year deal, they would have had to at least compensate Leon Macdonald for the commitment that he made, also the jobs that he turned down to take this opportunity on board.
Scotland, remember?
Scotland were on the radar looking for a coach. So I'm just saying is the fact that to me, they got themselves in the position when they interviewed for the coaches, all of a sudden there was this team of coaches that they had to demonstrate they could bring with them. Well, to me, did that mean they had to take all of them? I mean, I just think, like, we all talked about it, we had discussions, Mills, we felt there was a lot of people involved here. I want to now know who is selecting the outside backs, because that was Leon Macdonald's responsibility, and we've got about 9 of them in the squad. Who's now monitoring them? Who's taking their responsibility when it comes to those discussions? Because it was an unorthodox and a changing of the way that they manage and coach the All Blacks.
Yeah, so I took it a bit more on face value, and I thought it was a courageous decision if they have conflict. Because that conflict goes through the team, Mills. You know when two coaches aren't getting on, you've got to show like one face out there. I also think that Leon has been a head coach for a long time now, and some people cannot be assistants. Like Razor, for example, has a philosophy, and you would have to implement his philosophy. So if he has a philosophy as head coach to how he wants to attack, you have to implement that. And if you're not prepared to, there's going to be a lot of conflict. So I think it's been the best thing for the team, and courageous.
Yeah,
expensive if you're NZR, Mills.
But timing's perfect in terms of what you've said, right? I mean, you don't need distractions going into South Africa. They could have easily said, oh, well, let's just wait another couple of weeks, we'll go on tour and try and mend things there. But I suppose it comes back to the fact, you know, who was going to compromise? Who was actually going to compromise within this big coaching group? And that's probably what it comes down to.
So was someone always going to go? It was just a matter of who?
Oh, I don't know, Keith. I think that's a big call, right? Like, normally people will get through to the end of the season. They do that shitty 360 or whatever they call it. But you know, before then, an old review, no, he's gone. So I honestly thought that you'd wait till the end of the season. That's why I think it's really courageous from both of them. Or if it's like you thought it might have played out, then it's incredibly courageous from Razor, because like he's not waiting.
I suppose the other big thing as well, they took a lot of the Super Rugby coaches into this environment, right? And so that took a lot of depth. So what happens now in terms of Leon and his experience, and where does he go to now, considering he's not talking?
Well, I'll tell you what, Tim Horan says bring him over to the Wallabies and join Joe Schmidt's crew. Where would you like to see Leon end up, Jeff?
Well, Leon's a next All Black coach now, and they always get a job somewhere. Most of them are in Japan, aren't they? I mean, that's pretty much what happens. That he'll get an opportunity somewhere with all of his experience, whether it been with the Blues, whether it been with Tasman as a head coach, and he'll get his opportunity somewhere.
He'll be at international level, surely.
Well, you'd imagine so. But there still has to be question marks.
Yeah.
And he will get asked about that at some point. And wherever he goes next, they'll ask what happened here. Why didn't it work?
I know what happened.
What happened?
He has an attacking philosophy that is not in line with Razor's. Full stop. Like he coached the Blues.
And
you
did
followed
they
the
not
Blues.
know that before they got bed together for the All Blacks?
Yeah, but every strategy is perfect to get a punch in the face, Kirst. I said that at the beginning, right? So what's happened is Razor's had all these ideas and all these new ideas, and the honeymoon period was, yeah, this is going to work, Leon and I will get on, and yeah, we'll be able to work it out. He's a bit negative, I'm a bit positive, we'll work it out. Then the fire torch comes on you, and you don't.
Talking from experience.
Totally, I've been there 100 million times.
Is that why you got rid of Goldie?
Yeah, I didn't even employ him.
I didn't even get to see the torch.
Didn't get the interview. Yeah, but it is really, really important. And I've been in situations where you're under so much pressure, and you know you need to have the people around you who you totally trust. Yeah. And you know, if you ask the players that were coached, we had a bit of conflict within the coaches, and it just spreads like wildfire. So yeah, I have been there, and it's horrible. And you need to be united. And you know, if that's the case, it's courageous.
And
this
like
early
I
in
said,
the piece.
that it's the right thing for right now. Like you said, they've had to make the hard decision.
But hang on a minute, we won one of the most biggest test matches in the last few years under duress. Under duress at South Africa and Johannesburg.
Years ago. And that was unbelievable. Yeah. Trust me, that was. I was there. The intensity around that test match where Ian Foster doesn't know whether he's got a job when he goes home. You know, that was unbelievable.
Huge.
And we go back again, and I tell you what, the heat does not come out of this torch, because this is the biggest test since the Rugby World Cup final for the All Blacks. They head to Johannesburg, to Ellis Park. How do our players prepare to take on the back-to-back world champions?
If even Etebeth runs it straight at myself, try my best to get him down. I just have to get a hold of him and just, I guess, hope for the best.
I haven't had to goal kick too much in South Africa actually for the All Blacks, but put it this way, I can't imagine they'll be cheering me on.
I've typically always had very good winners.
Oh, try scored!
Very good, skillful, tall midfielders.
Gets past Caleb.
And got this template which works really well for them. Always a big forward pack.
Always a physical match-up. We got big boys. You just know there's not going to be any trickery or anything like that. You're just going to have a good old hard battle, and the best man comes out on top.
Their kicking strategy and the way they pressure teams through that, they've probably evolved the game in that sense. Challenge that comes with embracing the legacy, it can be daunting. It's something that I'm never comfortable with.
You know, we're there to work hard. Test matches aren't easy to play in. There's no more hostile place to go and play than over in South Africa in Johannesburg. So as a player, being able to play in that arena when it's, you know, you've got a lot of South African supporters booing you or getting into you, it's I guess a privilege to be able to play in front of that in those test matches.
Welcome back to the breakdown. It is one of the biggest tests of the year. The 36-man Rugby Championship squad has been named for the All Blacks. No Patrick Tuipulotu, no Stephen Perofeta and no Ethan de Groot to travel to South Africa. Instead, Josh Lord, George Bauer and Harry Plummer have come in. So let's take a look at some players. 10 of those 36 players, so nearly a third of the squad, have never actually played rugby in the Republic before. This isn't just international rugby, this is Super Rugby as well. So when you look at this list, there's probably a couple of guys that are instantly going to start. One of those two locks, either Sam Darry, Josh Lord, Tamaiti Williams, most likely Cortez Ratima as well, and you could have others too. For you three who have been there and done that, JK, how hard is it to win matches in South Africa?
Oh, it's next level. So when I look at that list, I think that Sam Darry will play, and I think Ratima will come off the bench, and Tamaiti will play right. And it will be, like, for Sam Darry, if he continues his growth, so he's been very good, right? But this is next level for him. It's so physical. I mean, I remember being in the crowd when Izzy scored that try late. So I took my family over, right? And my kids were crying because it was so intense. And they say, Dad, are you going to stand up for anthem? Yeah, we're all standing up. And like, it's just this electricity. Yeah. But then when you're on the field, it comes with the brutality of them just coming at you and coming at you and coming at you.
Yeah, sometimes you can't even think. I mean, it is. I mean, I mentioned at the start of the show, it's best place to tour as a rugby player because the week, as soon as you land, the build-up. I mean, we think we're rugby mad here in New Zealand. They are crazy over there. You go to the game. I mean, I was playing that game that you're talking about with Izzy at Cold Park. This is Ellis Park. This is the next level. You come in on the bus, and I have fond memories of that. You come in and you've got the police escort, and then you come down that main centre, and the bus just stops, and you're getting things thrown at the bus is rocking, and then you go out and, man, you have to perform in front of a crowd like that.
Fond memories? I've got no fond memories of playing there, none whatsoever, because the intensity it brings, the difficulty, like you say, from the moment the bus arrives, and this is a Rugby World Cup final in 1995, but this is an event for them. This is everything about Springbok rugby they're trying to defend. This is their most hostile crowd. And when you think about, this is the 95 World Cup final here, you think about what it means to them. I'm looking at the other side of it now and what it means to so many of these All Blacks who are going to South Africa, who were part of the Rugby World Cup final last year, who believe they were better last year, that should have won a Rugby World Cup final. Who went through adversity, and I think we've got some guys who want some redemption. Yeah. They'll want to go there and make a statement to that Springbok squad who won that Rugby World Cup, where most of them are there. The fact that maybe you're a little bit lucky, maybe you had some good fortune. That'll wind my friends up in South Africa. I understand that, but maybe fortune? They had some good fortune.
We had a yellow card.
Yeah, I get that. I get that. We had our opportunity.
And a red card.
But hold on, That's
what I mean.
If you're Sam Cane, and I think we'll play Sam Cane Mills. If you're Sam Cane, if you're Geordie Barrett, who had a chance to get the All Blacks in front, if you're Scott Barrett, I'm looking at this, Cody Taylor. You're looking at this, you'll look at this and remember this and go, we were so close to the holy grail of the game. I think this is why it's so important to this group.
Yeah, and the fact you throw in those young names, and only a handful of them will probably play. I mean, I think that's exciting as well because they haven't sort of experienced what it is, how hard it is to win over there. They'll be excited by that challenge.
Do you agree? Do you think Sam Cane will start? What is the All Blacks' mindset over there? Do they go with the most experienced team, the most expansive team? What are you doing for your 23?
Well, you mentioned brutality. I think you need someone that's going to, sit guys, hopefully sit guys on their backsides, and that's what you've got to do. You've got to get the mindset right when you go in there. Sam Cane for me as well. I think I'll have to agree with that. I think he's in good nick. He's come back. He's refreshed. He'll be highly motivated after the Rugby World Cup final. And defensively, especially in those when you're tackling those big buggers, you need someone there that's going to sit them back.
I actually play Cane and Papali 6 and 7. Like you need that, and Dalton's got bigger.
No,
he's smacking people.
No,
I think no.
No, Ethan Blackadder has to play. We need another line-out option. Yeah, we need his length at line-out time. He's managed to play a couple of games in a row. Leave him out there. They love him. They love Ethan Blackadder. I understand. I think Dalton can play the role off the bench.
I hadn't picked my number 8.
So you're not playing Adi Savea?
I'd bring him off the bench late.
Oh no, I can't believe that. No, he's played his best game.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying actually he wouldn't play. I'm having you on. He plays number 8, Dalton at 6.
Just trying to wind him up. Just trying to wind you up.
When are you leaving? You're leaving tomorrow, aren't you?
Sam Cane at 7. Now, listen, the bench will win us the game. I think it's something we're really good at, Mills, a few years ago. I don't think our bench has been as dynamic or understood the importance of what the bench does. Our bench will win us this game if we're going to win our first game. So the bench is fundamental. Who's coming off the bench, right? So Sam Cane, okay, I'm hearing you, but then Dalton would be coming on with at least 30 to go, right? You've got to start thinking a little bit like South Africa. We've got to play an expansive game, Mills, play skill, great kicking game, can't give away penalties in our half because you know what's going to happen. They're going to kick us to the corner.
The person that's had the biggest impact for the All Blacks off the bench this year is Beauden Barrett then. In that first test, do you put Beauden Barrett on the bench?
No, you start Beauden.
So who is your impact off the bench?
Well, that's
then?
what I'm saying. That's what I need to understand. So the reason I spoke about Adi and the reason you want to play Sam Cane, I don't think Sam Cane should come off the bench because I think he's better starting. But who is going to come off the bench like a Damien McKenzie late when they're getting fatigued? Like they're going to put the bomb squad on, right? And I'm going to boo at my television.
We're going to need leadership. we're going to need leadership in this game.
Well, that's Sam Cane.
Yeah, and that's why you would never meet a player who's probably going to want this opportunity more than Sam Cane after everything that's happened since last year. The fact that he knows that this is his last campaign in an All Black jersey. I'm just, and this may not happen, but I look at this and go, this is where you're going to have to step up. And you mentioned how do we beat them, Mills, JK? We have to match them up front, and then we have to beat them with our skill and our speed. And we have to put them under some sort of duress. And that's where we beat them a couple of years ago over there, where we stood up front and we had Tyrell Lomax come out of nowhere and Ethan de Groot in their biggest stage step up. We'll need our front row, and it probably will be Tamaiti Williams in that loose head position with no Ethan de Groot.
And he's got to be massive.
And he's got to be...
And so does Sam Darry.
Yeah.
They've got to be massive. These guys have got to be massive against the Springboks.
Yes, I mean, you've got to shock them right from the get-go. You know, shock them with the physicality. But, man... It's hard to do that when you look at the South African side and you look on the other side. I mean, you talk about them going to the corner, but, man, they can play just as expensive as we do. You know, the skill level that they've picked up over the last couple of years probably is on par, if not even better than what the All Blacks have been shown. So that worries me a bit.
And they've found a playmaker, Sasha Feinberg-Momenzulu, who's a little bit different. And you watch the way that he plays the game, and he played the 2 test matches against Australia. Now, we're used to seeing Andre Pollard at 10, and he's controlled a game. All of a sudden, they've got this young kid, and I started reading and looking at some footage. This guy's a potential superstar. There's nothing he can't do in terms of his creativity, his execution, his vision, Mills, his goal kicking. They're dangerous. They've got 2 wings, Olensa and Colby.
Yeah, but Goldie, how much time did he have there? The Australian second test match, second half, they just didn't have any lime speed. When you're talking about mindset, what we need to bring, we need to put this kid under incredible pressure. What I also think, Sia will be back, right? He will be back as their leader, and he brings something a little bit special, right? So for me, we need to really shut him down early. We need to get them on the back foot. We need to shock them into something that they haven't seen before. Otherwise, they get over the advantage line. You can't put any pressure on them because they get a roll on, right?
And we've started to see from creativity. They play it at such a high
That's a maul, mate. There's nothing creative about maul.
What's that? That's a fake front maul to a fake back maul to a front maul. I mean, when have you seen that?
That's what worries me. I think this is right up there in terms of one of the best Springboks sides I've probably seen for a very, very long time.
Well, JK, you can argue about mauls and bomb squads and everything you love about South Africa with our next guest, who is a larger-than-life character. If you need any reminding about the CV of the great Victor Matfield, here it is.
It was a big moment for Victor Matfield as he wins his first cup.
I'm going to keep quiet so you can hear what the reception that the crowd give to Victor Matfield. This could be the time of the season. It's Victor Matfield.
South Africa are in a golden phase of...
Not just a line-out man, legendary stuff.
South Africa win the World Cup.
What a person, what an individual, what a person to look up to in terms of wanting to achieve the same sort of achievement.
I mean, the man doesn't need a hype track, but if you're going to have a hype track, that was one heck of a way to do it. One of the greatest locks to have ever played the game. Victor Matfield joins us now from South Africa. Victor, always great to have you on the program. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, guys. Nice to chat to you.
OK, Victor, we've just been talking about how hard it is for the All Blacks to play in Johannesburg. My sense is it's a bit like Eden Park for the All Blacks, right? As a Springbok, can you tell me how different it is to play in the heart of Johannesburg when you wear that jersey?
Yeah, I must say, I think, especially if you go back to 95, probably the whole thing about Ellis Park, the Springboks, it's probably like Eden Park, like the home of the Springboks. So, yeah, it's going to be special. I think the All Blacks got a much better record at Ellis Park than we have at Eden Park. But, yeah, I think it's going to be a cracker of a game, especially after the last 2 games. The All Blacks bouncing back after that first game against Argentina. So it's just going to be huge.
Victor, you said on your podcast that you're going to beat us convincingly. So 10 points for a bottle of wine. You up for that?
Whoa. I don't know. I think it's going to be tight. Look, the one thing that's really nice for me is that JK did say how important scrums was after that first test. I really enjoyed that, hearing it from you guys. Loved that he missed the scrums in that first test and how important it is. But no, I think it's going to be a very tight game. I've said it always. I think there's never a bad All Black side. They'll always be competitive. We've seen, what was it, 2-3 years ago after we had that good victory at Nelspruit, and then the next week they came back and they beat the Boks. So, yeah, it's going to be a great game, and I think everyone is looking forward to it.
Victor, I mean, you're being pretty modest about the Springboks outfit, man. They are complete. You look right through it. Depth in every position. But, if there's an area, and there might not be an area, that they may be concerned about to try and lead into this All Black sort of game, what would that be?
I think the one thing with the All Blacks is always the intensity. I think if you look at the first 2 games they played, I think they didn't have that intensity. And I mean, I felt it. I can remember after 2009 when we beat them 3 times in a row, we arrived at Eden Park and they just left the intensity. They were there. They were quick at doing everything. So I think if you play against this Bok team, if it goes from set piece till set piece, I think it will be a good game for South Africa. So I think the ABs will definitely want to lift that intensity and play with pace.
Now, Victor, we've been watching your show, The Final Whistle presents on SuperSport, and I'm not wanting to pile on the pressure because I know that JK will do that himself. But you mentioned the fact you didn't think the All Blacks had the athletes that they've had in the past. Are you able to expand on those comments?
Yeah, I think it was better. I mean, I think if you look at the backline, the second game felt for me like they were dangerous. I was used to, when you look at it, I mean, most of the guys are sitting in that studio at the moment. All Blacks just having a back 3 that's really dangerous. And I felt in that first game with the back line, they didn't really have it. I think in the second game with the changes, it felt like an All Black back line that can get over that vantage line. That's really dangerous when they get the ball. It's got pace, got size and everything. So I think a much better team that they picked in that second game.
Victor, changed 9 players, against the Australians in the second test. Why is South Africa so good at the moment? I know Russie's getting a lot of the credit, but what's happening in high performance? Why are you producing so many players at the moment?
Well, I think if you listen to first side entry, I think in the beginning I was pretty much against our players not playing in South Africa because I thought, listen, it's going to weaken our provincial teams, but I think it actually strengthened our game. I mean, 80% of our top players are playing outside of South Africa. So we're just bringing more players through. At this stage, there's players getting opportunities at an earlier age, playing at the highest level. So I think our player pool is just getting bigger, with a lot of our players playing outside of South Africa and still being able to play for the Springboks. So something that I thought was going to be a negative for us actually turned out as a positive.
Victor, you stole one of our very best coaches in Tony Brown. You've taken him over there. Can you sense there's a change in attitude in some of the things you are doing and the way that you are playing, and maybe the players themselves are a bit more inspired to throw the ball around a little bit more?
Yeah, I think it's just that mindset to look for opportunities. I think you all know Tony very well. He's like Russie. He lives, eats and sleeps rugby. He just loves it. That's all he knows. That's all he dreams about, probably. And yeah, he's been great. What I've heard from the camp, the guys are really enjoying him. He's a fun guy to be around as well. So, yeah, I think just that awareness of where's the space and how we're going to attack it, I think it's definitely something he brought to the team.
You've spoken before about how attractive sort of South African rugby is, guys playing overseas. I know we've spoken the fact that, it'd be a great to play South African teams more often. Is that attractive still in South Africa, given how successful the Springboks are and also the development of your guys?
Yeah, I mean, the people love the Boks at the moment, but we love playing the All Blacks as well. So I must say, I miss that Saturday mornings, getting up, watching Super Rugby, watching the Blues Crusaders running around, But yeah, I think the move north with our provincial teams was a good move for us. Yeah, we always look forward to the rugby championships where we can measure ourselves against All Blacks, because it stays the ultimate test.
Victor, we've been talking about what we're expecting our All Blacks team to look like. What are you expecting the Springboks side to look like? How closely will it compare to the Rugby World Cup final last year?
I think I said it as well. I think that Ireland Test series was pretty much an extension of the World Cup. I think Rassie is a guy that's very brave with his team selections. I think we will see new faces there. He needs to start looking forward to the next World Cup. So I think we'll see one or two of the new faces. But I think we'll see pretty much the same team that played in that first test against Australia.
And can anyone compete with your bomb squad?
Yeah, I think, again, we've seen how important, and I think you guys also, how important the set piece is. Once you get dominance in the set piece, everything else just falls into place. And I mean, we're really fortunate at this stage that we probably got 2 or even 3 tight fives that we can put onto the field at any time that can really make a difference. So, yeah, the bomb squad's really working for us at the moment.
Yeah, your depth is absolutely ridiculous right now, and there is no doubt about it. At home, you are absolutely the favourites and back-to-back world champions, of course. It is always a privilege to have you on the program, Victor. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, guys. Have a good week.
Thank you so much. Victor Matfield joining us there. He's right next to where the Springboks are in camp at the moment, but the depth in this side, I mean, he just talked about it there, Mills, when you can pull out 4 or 5 players of the same quality in each position.
Yeah, man, they've just basically sorted out that whole thing, right? I mean, when you look at their side, and it's hard to sort of pick an actual team. So Russie's sitting there, and then what sort of style do you want to play? And then you've got guys coming off the bench. When they come off the bench, JK, I mean, the quality that's coming off there, they just turn the game.
Yeah, I think we should ban the bomb squad. Can't we put a petition together to ban the bomb squad?
It's that good.
Yeah, look, I think, you know, Brownie coming in, you've heard that they're enjoying him. You know, I think if you look at this squad compared to the World Cup, so I actually think they look a bit fitter, Goldie. I think they actually come away from the World Cup and thought, if we need to play an expansive game, we need to play it. So they look a little bit fitter, and that's dangerous. But against the Springboks, you just cannot make any mistakes in your own half, because they're going to kick it to the corner, bore us to death with a maul, but it works.
When you hear Victor talking about the fact he doesn't feel as though we're as dangerous as we were, when he mentioned that first test match against Argentina, they look really comfortable with what they're going to provide against the All Blacks and how they match up. They can take a lot of belief out of what they did to get the All Blacks last year, not just in the World Cup, but in Twickenham as well, and their game has started to grow, and they're giving players plenty of exposure and opportunity. So everything at the moment for them is nice, but they've played Australia, who are battling themselves, right? So it's up to the All Blacks to meet the mark, but this is a huge challenge for this All Black side. Huge challenge.
Do we do a bomb squad? Do we change our bench, Mills?
Well, I think we've got to go in there. I mean, Victor mentioned intensity. That's one thing we can actually sort of, you know, try and really lift. And we've seen that against the Argentinians. You know, we went to another level. We've got to go and do that in South Africa. But in terms of the tactics, I mean, if we can get expensive, the hard part for me is that South Africa can get expensive as well. I mean, they've got the quality of the players, and they're a lot fitter, they're faster. I mean, there's threats right across the board.
So you're saying no to a bomb squad? You wouldn't have 6 forwards that you can bring on.
That's not our competitive advantage. Kirsty, that's not a competitive advantage. The way that we play the game, we have to beat them with speed and skill and put them under pressure by using the ball. If we want to run into them, we're asking for trouble. Pure and simple. The fact, because they'll tackle all day. That is the strength of their game. And the fact that they bring on 6 forwards, I wouldn't be surprised if we see 7-1 or 8-0, the first 8-0. But they understand what they're trying to do and achieve, and they put you under constant pressure for the one thing that'll be interesting, once again, we'll talk about this over the next week or so, is playing at Johannesburg is a different challenge.
Yeah, I always remember, like, people are a lot fitter now, but the veld up high it affected me anyway.
Are any of you nervous? Just to get
He's always nervous.
Look, I think it's... I'm excited and nervous because I'm incredibly excited because for the first time that I can remember, people are saying, if the Springbok teams play well, they're going to put 10 or 15 points on us. I'm going, no. I think it's the first real test for this new coaching staff, for these players, and I'm expecting them to come out and just really step up to the challenge. Some of those guys have never been over there. Some of them are going to start, and I reckon that's going to be really interesting, because if you haven't played there, you don't know what it's like till you get it.
Well, stay with us here on The Breakdown. Plenty more hot takes still to come. We talk the NPC and FPC. Plus, we've got a brand new game changer. This time around, it's on a first five who goes by the name of Carter. Daniel Carter, that is.
Clear it away, Devery. McClatchy pops the kick in. O'Donnell!
That's wonderful stuff, and lovely work on the inside too. And here they come again. Might not need anyone Brazier, and you just got to run around her and score.
Quick hands, Taranaki looking good here. Jacob, here's Naholo, straightening up. Naholo crashes over to school.
Now we're going to go boot to ball, change of tactics. And this is awkward in the chase from Moana Courtney. Malupa, the support play from Sulawapi. His heads up again from North Harbour.
Steaming onto it, this is a good option coming in from Tupi. There's chasers for Northern. Flirting with it, this might be a try.
Little dab over the top. To the right-hand corner. Oh, great timing by Timothy.
Hoki mai anō, welcome back to The Breakdown. Well, when it comes to provincial rugby, it's all about showing your true colours. I'm going to give you 5 seconds to gloat about Otago beating Bay of Plenty.
Well, we beat the top of the table team, you know, and they're only on top because they had Storm Week. They won their first 3 games. Good game in Dunedin, great result for Otago. Back-to-back wins for them, so it's important. Long way to go in this competition, though, and there's a lot of teams that need to be better. Yeah, well, these two are staying silent because Auckland are still looking for their first win of the season after 3 rounds, but we won't go there just yet. We're going to talk about Hawke's Bay, undefeated JK, and remain with the Loggerwood, the prized Ramfurly Shield. How much does that lift you when you're in a team and you want to hold on to that for the season? Oh, it's pretty special. I mean, it does keep you motivated. It's something extra to play for. You know that everyone that's coming to play is bringing their A game. So important that the Bay have retained it. Why have we got so many Australians in our competition? Because everyone's trying to win, JK, and trying to get the highest quality players they possibly can. Oh, really? They feel as though they're not here in New Zealand. So we don't have enough players to fill our NPC teams? Why are you looking at me? Mills, you've got the answers for this, haven't you?
You're the player agent, aren't you, Mills?
You've got the player agent. Get out of here. That player
Move on,
agent.
OK, well, we'll move on to your favourite team, the Blue and White Hoops. What is going on in 2024, people? You have so many Super Rugby players in your team, JK. There's something not clicking there. That's like, when you look at them, I looked at them the other night when they lost, you look at their role. You know, that's... OK, Canterbury, same probably, so you go, yeah, you shouldn't be losing at home. But to be without a win, like there's too many Super Rugby players in that team for them not to be winning some football games. Woeful game of rugby. I commentated on it. The standard of both those sides was poor. You are 100% seeing every single highlight out of the 80 minutes. I had a number of people comment to me it was a terrible game. Not good enough from 2 squads that have that much experience and Super Rugby experience in it. They need to step it up. Auckland have got a couple of guys coming back. I think Zahn Sullivan's returning, won't be far away, but they've got to shift their mentality and their run home. You've got to win 5 games to make the playoffs. They've got to win 5 of the next 7. Nothing like the old rivalries between Auckland and Canterbury was that one over the weekend. But we're going to talk rivalries and not just teams. We're going to talk rivalries against players as well. JK, you're up first, and I reckon we can take one guess to say who it was that you love to hate. Well, Canterbury was, from a provincial point of view, that was my biggest, and David Campese. David Campese was probably the scariest guy you marked just because he was so talented. He invented the goose step, you know. So this was a special day for me, just because when you marked him, you knew that he was going to bring everything, and I just managed to get... Okay, turn this off. I do not want to see this again. I think we should replay it over and over again. World Cup, we lost to them. He just had this magical day, Campo. Everything went well turned us all inside out, and they won that game, and, you know, we went to go on to play the worst game you ever play, which is 3rd and 4th. You've got to love his defence, though.
If you loved his defence, I loved his defence. Even I played against Campo.
Wasn't something wingers had to do back then, Goldie?
You mentioned Auckland Canterbury, and you were part of one of the biggest games, Ranfurly Shield games. We've talked about it in Hawke's Bay in history, and still denying that you should have been penalised in the final play of the game. This was remarkable. This is Lancaster Park. This is when the crowd is right on the edge. I mean, you talk about intensity, you talk about Johannesburg, not too different. Watch this here, though. Are you allowed to do this, Mills, in the game of rugby union? Volleyball. Volleyball at the back of the game.
Final whistle, mate. There's nothing wrong with that. Knock it dead, son.
How did you get out of there? Actually, how did you get out of there alive? After doing
scary,
that.
Actually, to be fair, it was pretty scary. I mean, they were just shocked. I mean, like those days, everyone was sitting on the sideline because there was no seats. So it was just amazing. It was amazing because we'd gone down there and had our butts kicked in '83. I stepped out. We came back in '85, and it was just one of those special games you'll always remember. And we hung on to the Shield for a long, long time after that.
Well, mine was Auckland. Yours was Canterbury, mine was Auckland down south. You guys were just a great side, but that meant that every time we got the opportunity to play you, it was against Auckland. And so what did you do when Inga Tuagamala left? Waisaki Satutu went onto the wing, and I was running around in circles, kicking it willy-nilly. Waisaki was a hell of a player. Physical, was fast. What was I trying to do, bump him off? I mean, seriously. Game plan was clearly poor, but he was a special player. He had a season, and I think in '94 he was the leading try scorer. So it was Auckland, and for me, Waisaki was a real talent. Hard to hold.
Yeah.
For you, Mills,
for me,
what was your greatest rivalry?
I mean, the Crusaders, for me, would have to be, given the fact they are so successful. I think they're a team that you sort of absolutely love to sort of hate, and sort of, the stick that you sort of got, considering, how successful they were over the years. I think that's always sort of created, and probably off the back end of the Canterbury-Auckland rivalry, JK, the fact that you wanted to beat the best team in the competition, and thankfully enough got to do that. But there probably was another rivalry as well in terms of Auckland and also Waikato going down sort of State Highway 1. I always remember sort of going down to Hamilton and playing sort of the Waikato team, going down to Rapa Strait, and you see all the old cowbells and things down there, and obviously the chainsaw going, the possum.
Did you feel welcomed when you arrived?
To where?
To Hamilton.
I did once I became a Moodloo player myself, but as an Auckland player, nah.
Once you changed postcodes.
Yeah, but I mean, it's nice
at the pub on the way home.
The Ringaruri?
Yeah,
we always used to stop at the pub. You can't stop it. You can't stop now.
Yeah, I know, but we stopped one night and we're Auckland, went in and had a couple of beers, and we got on the bus and there was a goat there. someone had put a goat in our bus.
Oh, well, there's plenty more still to come, and we're going to continue to take a walk down memory lane with players who changed the game. This time around, we're talking about a player who, well, he walked on water at 10, didn't he? Dan Carter.
Game Changers is proudly brought to you by Bundaberg Ginger Beer.
He wanted to be the best in his position. He wanted to be the best of all time. And when you get athletes at that level wanting to do that with his talent, because he had plenty of talent, special things happen, don't they?
Probably to be the greatest 5'8" the world has ever seen.
Daniel, I think, had special characteristics in virtually every area of the game. I think he and Richie up there for the greatest players in history. And I'm not just talking about All Blacks, I'm talking about world. And we were lucky to have both of them at the same time.
Dan Carter, 60 metres out, hit it beautifully. Oh, that is fantastic.
The great players have time and make things look easy when they're not. It's because they're calm and under pressure that they execute things spot on. They don't miss those opportunities, and that's something he did consistently throughout his career.
The game against the Lions in Wellington in 2005 was probably the greatest performance by any rugby player ever.
It's no coincidence that Wilkinson was in that team and he wanted to show the world, well, not only am I better than the great 5'8" that have played for New Zealand, I'm better than this bloke too. And he went out and had a performance that reflected that. And that was the beginning of the beginning, I guess. From then it just went like that.
You can go through probably just about every game he played. There'll be one or two things, or maybe more, where what he did actually had a bearing over how his teammates got to play around him, but also over how the game went.
So he spent a lot of time preparing for the game. So in his mind, he had a very clear map of how to play the game, how we're going to play the game in that particular test match.
And a lot of people didn't see it was the dedication and time and effort he put into training and making sure that he was ready to go to be able to do the things you could see out in the field. You know, that just didn't happen by chance. It happened because he was dedicated and just put the time and effort into that.
Now Carter looks on the inside for Jane. Back it goes to Carter. Lovely stuff. Carter! Dan Carter! And stretching scores! What a try!
I learnt more off Daniel than I actually taught him. I learned a lot through watching him, listening to him. You know, he wanted solutions from other players, wanted the call made, didn't want to look for everything because, you know, you can see nothing if you're looking for the whole field. So he needed others like Ma and Conrad Smith who were brilliant at making calls and passing them in from the wings. It allowed him to execute at speed. He didn't have to think too much. He could play at pace and execute stuff that no one else could.
He's going to do it himself! Oh, brilliant! Back to his very best.
A good example of his unreal skills was at Twickenham against England. Mills came into the back line, we're down on their 22. The pass to get to him was a wee bit difficult, so it had to miss a couple of players, but Mills was in the gap. So he kicked it there. It was only like 15 metres, it wasn't like a crossfield kick pass. And he sort of hit it on the end of the ball, so it went sideways off his foot.
What a kick, miraculous, the kick pass, the execution to a T.
He invented stuff, I think, for rugby.
He had that flat patch prior to 15 where he'd had some injuries and he was struggling a little bit mentally, and you know, we were all trying to help him in our own way and just get him to keep his belief, and the media and the fans started to question him. And you know, we went into the 15 World Cup and we played France, rematch of 07. I know that people like him, because he came off from that game, they were hurting, and McCall was another one, and they really silently inside themselves just wanted to come out and, hey, we've got an opportunity to right or wrong. In that game, he just went to another level, and from there on in the tournament, he was sublime. Drop kicking goals, playing wonderful football.
And Dan Carter, at last, in a World Cup final. Carter goes for the drop goal. Dan Carter! What a kick!
Finishing with a right foot conversion, and he's a left footer, so he was full of confidence going into that tournament. Got Player of the Year, and it was wonderful to see him come back and do that. He enjoys life, Dan. He plays rugby for enjoyment. He doesn't play it because of any other reason.
All round, yeah, he's the most complete player I've ever seen.
Well, so many of us got to watch Dan Carter on the TV screens, but Mills, for a large part of your 100 tests in that All Black jersey, you got to play alongside this man. What was it like for you?
Oh man, what a ride. I mean, you're sort of seeing a guy sort of, you know, take control, and sort of, when we started the same year in 03, but the way he sort of, you know, come on as a player, fantastic. He's absolute great. But also the way he worked off the field, wrote a lot of notes, the prep that he had, you know, to nail his kicks to perfection, but also he had so much time, you know. Yeah, I mean, we talk about South Africa and the amount of time that he'd be getting messages from us out wide to then sort of soak that up and be as calm as what he was, and then make decisions and then see opportunities and go for it. Man, he was just an exceptional player and a great player to celebrate with off the field too. You know, he's not just hard out on the stuff that he does on the field, but we certainly celebrated a lot of victories together.
Yeah, I mean, Foxy, Frano Bodika and Mertens, it's like they had a child, hey, like, because he had, you know, Foxy was an incredible tactician, great plug hero in his own right. Frano Bodika had all that flair, and then Mertens was sort of in between, and then, for me, DC was the full package. You know, he brought, it was like they had a child. Like, he brought all those things, all the great things that they had, and put it into one package. I was at that game, and that, you know, Sir Graham was right. He was absolutely unbelievable that night. And he also went through a lot of adversity, Gold.
He's the GOAT. I think he's the greatest rugby player of all time. I have no doubt in my mind about the way that he played the game. He was the complete player. There was nothing in the game that he couldn't do. We've had greats in individual positions, but the most influential position in the game, and will always be his first five because of the pressure and responsibilities. And if you're the goal kicker as well, everything that comes with that, he could do it all. Look, he started at 12 a bit. His defence was first class, but his decision-making, his execution, his footwork, you're seeing it all here, and it didn't happen just often in the game. It happened all the time in the game for me, Mills. And he is. You know, people will argue this, but when you watch him play, there wasn't anyone else, I believe, that could do it as consistently in the big moments, in big games, as Dan Carter.
Also the belief that he had in himself and the team. You know, there'd be times there where we were under the pump, he wasn't playing such a good game, and you'll talk to him and say, mate, it's going to be okay. The look in his eyes, you knew, you know, and I mean, he quickly switched into sort of peace mode, and away we went. Man, such a great player.
Well, away the All Blacks go, because in 7 days' time, or just under 7 days, they take on the Boks in back-to-back tests at Ellis Park, then DHL Stadium in Cape Town the week after. So, JK, you wanted to put your wine on the line for Victor Matfield. How many tests do the All Blacks win in South Africa?
2.
You will not be surprised.
Why was there just deathly silence? It was like deathly silence.
Okay, you two, more realistic. How many tests do the All Blacks win? It would be amazing if they won 2, wouldn't you believe?
Yeah, absolutely amazing. I mean, this is a huge challenge. If they came away with 1, I'd be happy, I think. The first one's got to be a big one.
We can win 2. I think we'll split them, and it'll be 1-1. But it'll change.
Which one?
I don't know.
It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
It is going to be some test match. We cannot wait. Next Sunday morning, we'll be up early. We cannot wait to enjoy it with you. JK, enjoy the America's Cup as well. We'll see you next week.
He's having the drop kick. He's